I'm glad we're starting to get this in the open, simply because, in layman's terms, whether we take a doctor's prescription or an aspirin it is a medication, pain with technique or individual pressure point, we advance to that level of practice using the pressure points available in any given situation or technique by practice and knowledge. My point being, denying pain being delivered by nerves, whether called pressure points or pain submission, is a moot point. Terms means nothing because them educated scholars are beating a dead horse while the world goes on around them, at least in working man's terms. Before I practiced Aikido, I had a variety of pain submissions from various jujitsu lessons, but sometimes to get there were many offensive and defensive dirty tricks to get past punching and kicking. Eventually, judo and jujitsu were that more effective than striking and kicking. I began to get the hang of Aikido. I saw even more openings beyond the actual physical manipulations, which became easier to get to with Aikido's flowing harmony. Now, with Aikido training, I see it works well with many other styles training providing openings, or other techniques, which I call my old friends from other schools of training. So, not to rely on what works is foolish, but learning to make other things work within Aikido. You decide. How long did it take to begin to understand Aikido? And will you or I ever master it? Probably not, but practicing is a lot of fun. When I learned these forms, there were no names for them. I was just told. Goes like this chant. Rakyo, also known as Udahiji Gatame, Udahiji, Shimen, Iji Osei, etc., often used for knife thrust, or Jo thrust chest height, so that thrust goes under armpit. Forward, sideways, upwards, backwards, while holding Yuke's wrist with both hands. Uke's elbows, you drop down on inside knee or back. Warning, Uke is liable to injure elbow. This one. I don't do this one often unless Uke is Udansha because of injuries to at least four. Mudansha, who went down on wrong knee. Nanakyo, Kawahara sensei says like Sankyo, but not Sankyo. Classical Sankyo position. Uke stays in front of Nai. Thumb, as I attacked with a Munadori. However, I have also had it done to me by other sensei, from other attacks. I believe it was Endo sensei who liked to do this from a Joden Suki attack, going into Tenkai and trapping and twisting the hand as it passed by into a Sankyo type grip. However, instead of stepping into Tenkan, he would Tenkai again and drop and twist Yuki's wrist in the Sankyo type grip while pressing down on the elbow for leverage with the other hand. Steps backwards, Uke is pressed downward. Of Sankyo, others say like Sankyo, but not Sanki. Hachikyo. Again, Kawahara sensei says like Yonkyo, but not Yonkyo. I got reprimanded on this several times a while back because I insisted on continuing to do Yonkyo when the practice was not Yonkyo. The practice was from the Katatori attack, turned over into a Yonkyo type grip without raising it, and Nage steps backward while pressing down on the elbow for a drag, down rather than press, down more like Gokyo type of feel. Kyukyo, also known as Katagatame or Udahiji Gatame. This term seems to be used for a number of techniques. It is especially done against Tsuki attack. Sankyu in Canada. The Geden Tsuki attack is sidestepped outside using a strong Irimi movement while cutting down at the elbow with a strong shuto. The Atami hand continues its path to Yuke's shoulder, which it pulls down. The shuto hand grabs Yuke's arm so that the shuto continues on to grab Yuke's elbow from the inside. The Neji's too. Hands overlap at Yuki's elbow, which is pushed down as Naj lowers down onto one knee while doing a tenken, or stepping backwards. Finish with Kansetsu Waza. Jukyo. Easy way to start is like Yokomanuchi Shihonage, but instead of taking Yuke's arm upwards, the bent elbow is pressed downwards as Nage steps forward in 45 degree, with Shuto to back of neck. I may have the order of these all wrong, and all I ever heard was next one in terms of name. When I asked the name, I was just told they were the Kaio. In the meanwhile, I have been known to do a number of techniques which are not exactly Kihonwaza and the sensei would come over and correct it, so it must have been another one. Was fortunate enough to rediscover. I was told that I would sooner or later find out all variants if I stayed in Aikido long enough, but would never be shown all of them directly. Basically, I was told to go away and find out myself, and quite bothering me. Finding out what makes each of the techniques a technique in itself and not something else. Quite interesting. For instance, the one that Kawahara sensei calls like Yonkyo but not Yonkyo is not Yonkyo because it does not include the wide arm, sweeping motion of the Ikkyo. Uke's elbow doesn't come up, and Uke is pulled down and not pushed down. Please take all this with a grain of salt. It is simply my distillation of things I have been taught over a number of years from a great many different teachers. If there is any incorrectness in this, it is because I stupidly misunderstood or mixed up what several different senses were teaching. In my own defense, I sometimes find it difficult because of the different terms used for the same thing by different sensei and the limits of when a technique is something else differ from sensei to sensei. From my point of view, it is, though, possible that they are all the same. The difference in perception being dependent upon how many times I have been bounced off the tatami as you before getting a chance to try out the technique. I'm not too good at verbal descriptions, but I try. These differ some from Rocky's rendition, but then I suppose we learned them at different times, from different teachers. These techniques require the use of a bayoneted rifle or long spear. It is training against long weapons, the Joa. It requires two moves to get inside UK, unlike the Jo, down to the hand, which require one move. Gokyo, Uke using a bayoneted rifle. Uke has the right hand in the triggering position, the left hand around the barrel stock. He thrusts with the bayonet at the abdomen, chest. You slide into his left side. Your right hand goes to the elbow, as a Nikkyo, and your left palm up grasps his fingers from the bottom, securing them on the stock piece. As you hands the right palm would be down, and the left up, normal footwork. Rakyo, UK using a spear from the right hand position, left hand at the base of the staff, and right hand extended position, as if thrusting or reaping with a 9-foot spear. You will only get halfway in. Your right head goes to the elbow like Ikkyo, but with the hand turned over the thumb on top. Your left hand goes to his left hand as an Ikkyo, but grasping the thumb and fingers securing them onto the shaft, you will be holding his arm like a Jo. Your hands, the right palm would be up and the left down. Apply pressure to the elbow and thrust down as if his arm was a Jo. Be careful, you can snap the elbow with too much pressure. Position applying pressure to the elbow. Again, be careful. Nanakyo, spear or rifle thrust. You slide in the right hand grasping Yuke's left from the top. Your left head grasping Yuke's left from the bottom. On the weapon. Rotate his arm about a quarter turn so the elbow is up and into your armpit. Can apply a pusher at this point. If you cannot apply sufficient leverage to disarm him or break the elbow, slide your left foot across your front. It will be in front of you. Knee and lean back across Yuka's back, applying pressure to the elbow. Be careful. Hachikyo, Yuke, in the right-handed position, thrusts with the bayoneted rifle or spear, but not so deep as the last time. You grasp the rifle stock or spear shaft in your left hand and push it up and toward his right shoulder, grasping the lower part of the shaft between his hands. You pull. This gives you leverage on the weapon, and you can take Yuke down. Bring the blade of the weapon across the back of Yuke's neck.